All right, folks, we are back and it is Wednesday, back to Christ Wednesday. And folks, we have a special guest in the studios, Miss Leah Ferretti. And I guess I'm pronouncing it. You can correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
you got it.
How
Good
are you
job.
doing?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to WY8B 1039 FM. We're glad to have you here. And Miss Leah is here on behalf of School Choice. Miss Leah, you can tell us as much about yourself as you want. We're here in the South, so you got to tell people who you are, where your mama and them is, who they are, and all that kind of stuff. So you know the routine.
Well, I'll start with I'm not from here.
Okay,
I,
well, you're in the South, though.
I am. I am. I'm from the Delta. I'm
Okay.
from the Mississippi Delta. So I grew up in Inverness, Mississippi. Um, went to Delta State University.
Mm-hmm.
Met my husband, who's from Greenville. We decided to see a little bit of the world, as in Florida. So we moved to
Mm.
Florida for a few years and came back here to start our family. So Mississippi girl, and it brought me back in. And I guess I'll start with I'm obviously married. My husband's name is Blake.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the trenches with me in this whole education advocacy and education freedom fight for the longest. I've got
Right.
3 children: Thomas, 16, Henry, almost 14, and our little princess baby Blake, who is 10 years old. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here today, because of them.
Okay.
So my organization is called Mississippi Ready. I don't know if you've heard about it. So we are the parent voice for parent choice. And I've been in this fight for over a decade. I've been an educator for over 16 years,
Okay.
and the fight for advocacy a little over 10. And what I found was there wasn't a platform or an entity that was a resource for parents.
Hmm.
I can navigate education because I'm an educator,
Right.
and there was no one out there to tell us, what choices are in our state and how to navigate those. So Mississippi Ready was born out of necessity, because I know there are other moms, other families out there that need that assistance. So we launched September of last year as a platform. Our website is mississippiready.org, and it has just about any information you can think of as far as for school choice in Mississippi. And right now, I feel like I'm in campaign mode,
Hmm.
which is exhausting. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
campaigning is tough. So I feel like that's where I am right now, to get the information out there for Mississippians on what school choice is and what it should look like. We are, yes, we have made some great gains in education in certain areas, but we're still far behind the rest of the nation and the rest of the South. We're the only state in the South that does not have robust school choice policy.
All right. Again, we're talking with Leah Ferretti. Do you have any social media presence you want to throw out there? People can be looking at
Yes,
information.
whatever your flavor is, that I'm there. I'm on TikTok, X, Facebook, Instagram. You name it, you can find me out there. And that's where we get our news and information nowadays,
That's
right?
right.
So really utilizing those platforms to let families know what choice is and the temperature of the climate of choice in Mississippi right now.
Okay. We're talking with Leah Ferretti, and she's with School Choice, and the website is what now?
MississippiReady.org.
And that's the same on all the other platforms.
Like Mississippi Ready,
Okay,
yes.
Mississippi Ready. All right. So you started this. Is who else is involved? How can people get involved? What prompted you? What kicked it off?
My kids.
Okay.
So our oldest son, who's now 16 years old, it started off when he was retained in kindergarten. I tell people it's
Mhm.
in his second tour of kindergarten.
Mm.
We had to hold him back because we thought that he just needed a little bit of love, and
Mm.
that wasn't the case. And we were in a public school, and if and many of you know out there, that teachers' hands are tied.
Mhm.
There's things that they can't tell families. And I worked in the system and with the schools that my children were at, and happened to be friends with my son's kindergarten teacher. And she just pulled me to the side. She's like, "Leah, I think he's got a learning disability. I'm not an expert, but I think you
Mhm.
need to have him evaluated." And if you know anything about having evaluations for learning disabilities, a lot of schools will not evaluate, and insurance doesn't cover it out of pocket. I mean,
Mm.
so you got to pay for it out of pocket. So I took 2 days off work and a couple of $1,000s out of pocket to have my child comprehensively evaluated because I didn't know what was wrong with him.
Mhm.
Got a diagnosis saying he's dyslexic, he has ADD, severe anxiety, all the things that come with dyslexia. And as a teacher, I didn't know what dyslexia was. I just thought it was reversal of words if you saw
Right.
something backwards. Not the case. It's a broad spectrum. So we brought the diagnosis back to his school and said, hey, this is what he has. They said that he needs Orton Gillingham based dyslexia therapy. Well, they looked at me and said, Miss Ferretti, I'm sorry. We can't help you. We can't serve your child. And then in my mind, I'm quoting IDEA, Individuals with Disability Education Act, FAPE. My child, has the right to a free and appropriate public education, and they're telling me, "Sorry, Charlie, we can't help you."
Mm.
And that wasn't okay. That
No.
wasn't okay at all.
Yeah.
So had to fight tooth and nail to get some accommodations, to get some simple things. But at the end of the day, he needed therapy.
Hmm.
So I went to my husband and said, what do you think about us selling our house, uprooting your business and our family and moving to Petal, Mississippi? He's like, that's a terrible idea. Like, who can do that? Like, that's ridiculous.
Wait a minute. Isn't Petal? That's where they have the top rated school district, isn't it? Or
Well,
recently, anyway.
yeah, they've got a great school district, and they also have the 3D school, which is a special purpose non-public school which specialized in dyslexia therapy. So what they do is they have dyslexia therapists that are the teachers, and it takes about 3 years for the child to go through that program, and they can cycle out of it and go back to a traditional classroom. And so my husband's like, no, we can't do that. Who can sell their house and uproot their family? So I went back to the drawing board and did some more research and found that Mississippi College offered a master's degree in dyslexia therapy. Well, I have an undergrad in education, so I was qualified. So I went back to him like, what do you think about me getting a student loan to Mississippi College? And he's like, that's a terrible idea too.
What else you got?
Not too long ago, I just finally finished paying off my undergrad student loans. And so he was like, you know what, that probably is the best option for us. So I went back to school, later in life to get a master's to help my son. And I tell people God has a plan for us, right? And he decided that all 3 of my children needed to be dyslexic. So, he sent me back to school. That was my journey. That
Wow.
was my story. That was my mission to help one child. And then the other 2 came along and they are severely dyslexic as well. So, went to school to help them, but just organically. And like I said, God's plan to help other families. So, I came across school choice and found that ESA, an education scholarship account or education savings account, whichever word you want to use,
Right.
was out there and was available. And actually, my boys qualified for it because they had an IEP, not because they have dyslexia.
Now, what is IEP?
An individualized education plan. And that
Okay.
is a living document that follows your child through their whole education career to protect them, to make sure that they're receiving correct services, that they are reaching goals.
And where does that come from?
That comes from your local school district.
Okay.
Yeah. So applied for ESA. My oldest son got it, but my baby did not. My baby son did not get it. We were put on a wait list. But in the meantime, we pulled them and put them in a local private school. And with the ESA, I paid tuition out of pocket, but I submitted quarterly reports that, this is what I paid for tuition this month. This is,
Right.
what education costs for us. And they reimbursed us back because
No, they
as the Department of Education.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ESA
Now, is that a recent program? How old is that program?
It's been around since 2014.
But
Okay.
only for special needs.
Only for special needs.
And that's the one they were trying to expand. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
and they
gotcha.
did, and they
Okay.
did expand it. And every year there's a waiting list. There's a
Right.
waiting list on it. But my
Well,
youngest,
you know what's odd, and I hate to.
no, you go ahead.
If the kids were if you wanted to transition this child sexually, money would be made available. You get legal representation, the whole 9 yards. But that's another show. I just had to throw that in there because I'm a talk show host.
No,
Go ahead.
you're right, and teaching a child to read should be easy, right? Like accommodating a child that has dyslexia should be
You
easy.
should have told him my child needs to learn how to read the instructions on a condom. They would have given you the money then.
Oh gosh, yeah, right. About context. So we put him in a private school, and then I actually went to go work at that private school
Mm.
independently because I ended up serving 74 children in the Mississippi Delta because I promised not only my children are dyslexic. Statistically speaking, 20% of our population has dyslexia. So one in 5
Wow.
have dyslexia.
When all
And
this happened, because when I was coming up, you were just dumb. Either you knew it or you didn't.
right? Yeah, even when we were in
Yeah,
school.
you didn't have you had DUMB. You didn't have ADD. It was just
Yes.
dumb.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people threw their hands up at you.
Yes. Well, and now we know how to reach and how to teach all children.
Wow.
And we know that children are individuals and we should be meeting their individual needs. But anyway, fast forward to today,
Right.
we live in Madison County, and my children are back in public schools and they're doing great. But if I didn't customize their education long ago and give them that therapy and give them those small classroom sizes long ago, I promise you they would not be able to assimilate today. Now, I was
Mhm.
telling you 1 in 5 children have dyslexia. 20% of our population has dyslexia. Do you know the percentage of our prison population that has a reading disability?
Mm.
Over 80%.
Wow. Well, that explains
Over,
why they're in prison.
and we spend about $30,000 per prisoner per person in prison to
Mhm.
every year, $30,000. And it costs significantly less on average about it depends on where you are. Let's just say $10,000 per child.
Mhm.
Why aren't we investing
Right.
in our children?
Right.
Because if they can't read, they're going to
He's going to end up in prison.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Folks, we're talking with Leah Ferretti in that website.
MississippiReady.org.
Okay. And folks, again, a mother who, again, was concerned about her kids. And it turns out there are so many in that same situation. We're going to be talking more with Leah because one of the things I want to know, okay, you got the ball rolling on that. And how long has this organization been around?
A little over a year.
Okay. Okay. And what kind of feedback, pushback, or what are you experiencing as you try to move forward with this here,
Well,
reception wise? From them?
reception, it's great because there are other families out there. There's other parents out there that they're wanting their voices heard, that
You're
are
welcome.
wanting this information.
Mhm.
But the pushback, and Lindsay, and you may know this as well, is opposite. There is opposition out there, and it's protecting status quo. It's protecting
They're protecting
systems.
contracts. They're
Yes.
protecting old folks who got money, working the system the way it is. But go ahead.
No,
A
you're
lot
right.
of misinformation.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ton
and
of
so
misinformation.
that is what I'm just a mama. I'm just a mama at the end of the day. I'm a mama who's fighting for my children and fighting for the rest of our children. Because there are so many false narratives out there, and I say so many, and that's what I'm doing. I'm combating them one by one.
What are some of the narratives that you want to
This
challenge?
is going to derail public education,
Mhm.
which is
That's the
insane.
biggest one.
My children are in public schools.
Right.
Why would anybody want anything to derail public education? I know that public education doesn't work for every child.
Mhm. Well, what do they envision, or what do they consider derailing? I mean,
If
what are they fearing?
if you
There's going
give
to be a mass exodus.
a mass exodus out of public schools, or if you give parents power, and give parents the choice, they lose control.
Well, that's a provable lie, and we'll talk about that more after we take this break. But that's a provable lie, and the people who pushed that actually signed off on legislation that has made money available. And if that was the case, that money would be gone. That money's not even being used. So we'll talk more about that after this break here. We're talking with Leah Ferretti. That website is what?
MississippiReady.org.
All right, we'll be right back. Boom. All right, folks, we are back, and it is back to Christ Wednesday. We got Leah Ferretti in the studios on behalf of School Choice. Now, it says you're the author, or you're the creator of this foundation,
Mhm.
and you're helping push the legislation. There is no legislation per se right now. Is that correct?
No, they're working on the bill right now, but
Okay.
there is no legislation out there
Mhm.
for anyone to read or to argue against. So really, we're talking about hypotheticals
Right.
of what if, or what
What a
does this look
man's.
like?
What,
Yes.
yeah, what if a man did this? What if a man did that? Well, one of the things that concern Lindsay, you had anything? We gonna comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Uh, one of the things concerns me is this notion that uh, we hear the same thing from the public school sector when it comes to private schools. Well, they only take the cream of the crop, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, they take first come first serve. Why would you tell a lie like that? And then you want us to entrust you and trust our kids to you, and you think that lying is okay because you're trying to advance your. I don't. I have I have a real problem with that. And number two, if the private schools wanted to do that, as I pointed out, you can go to the Department of Revenue's website right now, and there's $15 million sitting out there right now. Very little of it is used every year. If the private schools were trying to do that, there would be a record of it. So why are you telling this lie other than the fact that you cannot be trusted? So why should we trust you with the education of our kids? Now, you have a stricter criteria in your Montessori schools that was in the public school districts, your magnet schools. Your criteria is more stringent than the charter schools. So make it make sense. Better yet, why don't you just quit lying? Let's start there. I'm sorry.
No, amen. Thank you. You're
Mhm.
preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Quit. Yes, and there's the fear mongering.
Right.
I was a teacher, and I was in the
Mhm.
public school classroom when Initiative 42 came down
Right.
the pipeline, or when third grade gate. We were told that if you support this, or if you don't, if we have this, you're going to lose your job.
Right.
And now those same people that said that want to take credit for it.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And they fought it tooth and nail. I saw one of the spokesperson on one of the national shows from Mississippi in the public education arena, and they were taking credit for it. And I'm saying, I remember you folks were fighting this thing tooth and nail. And now you want to say it's because of us we got all these gains. And this is why I keep saying at the end of the day, the only people fighting, it seems to me, for public schools are the people who they say hate public schools. And at the end of the day, we just want our kids to be educated. Everybody benefits from it.
Everybody. Not just some children, all children. And you're talking about the picking and choosing.
Right.
Public schools get to pick and choose.
Yes.
They pick and choose according to zip code. They pick and choose. Right now in Mississippi, you can go to any school district you
Mhm.
want, but what has to happen is the home district has to sign off, and that
Mhm.
receiving district has to sign off.
Yeah.
More cases than not, that home district is going to hold them hostage. No, we're not going to let that child go. We're not.
Mhm.
We don't want to lose that seat.
That's right.
Because
And
they get so much money for that. So follow the money.
yeah, and that's the other thing about the whole money issue per student. What I want to see, in the absence of we being able to get school choice of whatever flavor, I want the public schools to come back and show us some indices that we're going to see improvements in, because they're telling us they need more money. Okay, so if we give you another $1 million, what can we expect? What kind of improvements? You tell us. They won't even do that because they don't have to heretofore. Now they're going to have to, because I want them to explain to me, just tell us what we're going to be getting. You had a monopoly on the education. You screwed it up, and now everybody else is the problem. I think we need to do some mass firings with some white shirts.
Well, what's sad is, you hear, oh, more money, we need more money. The money's not going to teachers.
No.
It's not going to the classroom. When I moved out of the classroom, my husband came in with a U-Haul trailer. He's like, why do we need a U-Haul trailer? I'm like, just trust me. And he came in and he said, Leah, do we own all this?
Mhm.
I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
we sure do. He's like, how did this happen?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, those were my babies in that classroom.
Right.
And I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And I didn't make a whole lot of money. I didn't have a
Mhm.
master's degree, so I just was on a single A license.
Mhm.
I was going to give my children and my students whatever they needed to be successful. I worked at a school that my students didn't have toilet paper.
Right.
It's crazy.
When my kids were in school, I was surprised because you got one school that has 2 sets of books, and then you got one school just one set, and they got to share it with. And I'm saying, what's going on? Why can't they? Because this is a process and a structure that's failing. And I've been telling anybody who will listen, the problem in the case of Jackson Public Schools, it's a discipline problem. It's a structure. It ain't got nothing to do with money. More money will certainly help anybody in most cases. But in this case, I've always proposed you give the teachers absolute control over who comes in that classroom for that 45-minute period, who gets to sit there. If they say Lindsay is out and she can't get back in here until her mama, daddy, or Jesus sitting in here with her, or the principal. Other than that, they can't come in this classroom because the other 24 students should be able to get their lessons and not be punished because you got one child in there that's being forced to stay in there.
Agree with you.
And again, there's no appetite to fix the schools. They just want more money.
How
What
much
do you
money
see the
is ever going to be
solution?
enough money?
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
how
good
much
point.
is ever
Yeah.
going to be enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So we're looking at a situation where the school choice, what do you envision school choice to be?
I envision it. Well, it looks different for everybody, and
Mhm.
it should look different for all families. I feel that if you want to get a Catholic education, you should be able to get a Catholic education. If you want to get a public education, you should. If you want to go to a magnet school that specializes in math, science, and health, you should be able to do that.
Right.
You should not be restricted according to your zip code and your income. Period.
And and I guess that's why this is so important that the money follow the child, because that you don't have to try to figure out what is the best program. The marketplace will produce like you needed that special program for your child. There was a marketplace down there in Petal that was providing that opportunity. And if enough people needed it up here, then one would be created. The way they got it now is nothing's getting done other than these people making sure that they got a fat salary and a fat
Right.
retirement.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Well, and it makes sense of that's why they're fighting so hard against that to protect that. You know, I get
understand it, yeah.
I get it.
But this is my child too.
But
Do
at
you
the-
get that?
What is the business of education?
Right.
It's become an employment agency.
Right. Right
It's
now,
not
we
about
fund
children.
systems
Systems.
and
Not
not
children,
students, not the
yes.
students.
Wow. Folks, again, this is what it's going to be about in January. Remember, every one of these legislators speak to you and say that they're against school choice. You wait till January. I'm going to show you the votes that were taken on this program that made money available from the public coffers to not only private schools, but to many nonprofits. So when they say that they don't want the money, public dollars to go to private schools, they're not being serious. They're not being genuine. They've already voted for that. So the question is, why are they hostile to your kids? This doesn't make sense to me. I can't get my head around it. And like you pointed out, how much money they're spending. Sheriff McMillan, when he was alive, he was pointing out the fact he had a higher graduation rate than Jackson Public Schools of the people who went through his detention center down there, because they were in a structured environment where they couldn't just goof off and do all the things that they were doing out here. We know that structure is the key to it, and yet that's what the public schools are refusing to give us. And they always got a reason, because we need more money. No, what we need is you to go to the house and let's get somebody in there who can do it with less money.
Well, that and when you hold parents accountable, that's
Right.
where we have lost sight of the power of a parent, and the accountability lies on a parent. At the end of the day, it lies on the parent, and that's where we should be putting the accountability.
I would agree. And that's the reason why I said if you give teachers absolute control over who gets to if that parent has to leave their job to come sit in that social studies class, you're going to start seeing some results. But see, the way they got it right now, they're actually using the parents to protect the administrators' turf, protect their purse. And I'm saying, guys, we got to do better. And then these same administrators, they face getting carjacked and robbed like all the rest of us. But they figure, hey, we can move further away and lessen our chances of being robbed at the red light. And I'm saying, dude, why are we doing this to our society when all we need to do is cut down the number of juvenile delinquents we're producing every year? And then we're going to have making some headroom.
Good enough for thee, but not for me.
Folks, we're talking with Leah Ferretti. Lindsay, what's your thoughts?
Of course, I believe that every child is special and unique. And these children that are in school today are the future.
Mhm.
They are the ones who are going to be sitting in those legislator seats at the Capitol, making laws, changing laws in the next generation.
Mhm.
So it's going to benefit everyone
That's right.
if we allow them to be educated the best way possible for their individual and unique needs. And who knows better than that child's parent
That's right.
how that child can learn in the best way.
That's right.
It's
And
simple.
one of the things that really got under my craw years, about, I don't know, what, 10, 12 years ago, JPS went through all this hullabaloo. They were trying to do a bond referendum to repair a lot of schools. and they got the bond referendum passed. And then within 5 years, they shut most of the schools down. And they just and I'm saying, wait a minute. So you did not have a plan. You don't have a 5-year plan, really? You put all this money to repair these and restore these schools, and then you shut them down because your projection shows that you're not going to have enough kids. You knew that. You should have known that. The foolishness has just gotten too deep for me. I'm serious. I applaud what you're doing, Leah. What? Well, let's take a break here. What do you need the people to do when we come back here? What are you trying to get everybody involved in? Let's take a quick break. And the hotline number is brought to you by EliteRoofer.com. All right, folks, we are back, and it is Back to Christ Wednesday here at the EliteRoofer.com studios. Hotline numbers 879-0002. You got a question for Miss Ferrati? She's willing to answer all questions. She's not dodging. So again, this is the marketplace of ideals. I don't believe in censoring. I want everybody. I don't care if you Nick Fuentes. I don't care. Just say what you want to say. I ain't got to subscribe to it. But at the end of the day, all these officials know, and I hear this from the Jackson representatives all the time. I heard them the last time talking about, well, why can't Jackson and Hinds County get a data center? Well, same reason why you can't get any other investment, because you don't believe in educating your kids. You're raising, at best, trustees coming out of these public schools, or unimpartial jurors, people who don't know nothing about nothing. And that's not what we want. We got businesses out there need people who can form tasks and come to work with an aptitude where they can be taught things. But we're not getting that. And we have a situation here where a mama bear decided she wasn't letting her kids fall through the cracks. Something gonna have to be did. And she got out there and made it happen. Hat tip to you.
You want to get something done.
You want to get something did.
Find a mama.
Find a mama. That's right. And again, just like Lindsay had the impact with the vaccines, and you're doing this here, folks. That's what it takes. You can't farm it out. You can't bring people in from outside the country and bring some illegals in to do this work for you. These are our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not rocket science. There was a time when we knew how to raise kids and do things, but all of a sudden we got all these vested interests that's telling us no. So to the public schools out there, wait a minute, Hoss, you shutting down schools. You got the problem. So you should have more money than you need to deal with. Your problem is that you don't have any structure. The structure that's going to allow these kids to be educated. And we're telling you, before we give you am of the dollar, you need to tell us, what are we getting for this investment in you? Because right now, I don't feel like we're getting the bang for the buck, baby. So what are you asking the legislature? What would your ideal bill be?
My ideal bill would be that every child would have equal access to whatever their education,
whatever that money dollar amount would buy.
Should absolutely follow that child wherever they are to be educated. That is the ideal. And what that's going to look like, we don't know.
Right.
Now, do I believe that we will have some form of choice come down the pipeline? Yes, I do. What that looks like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But I can promise you the opposition will fight tooth and nail for against it, to protect the status quo.
Yeah.
And here we are. Well, I've been in this fight for over 10 years, and that parents' voices are finally being heard. We're finally being listened to. And this fight isn't new. This isn't school choice, education freedom isn't a new thing. This has been around since Ronald Reagan in the 80s.
Right.
He's talked about choice. He's talked about parents should have the right to choose the best education option for their children. It's not a new notion. It's been around.
Well, we ought to just say, look, however many choices you have to abort a child, that's how many choices we're going to start with on educating our kids. So parents should have, if you got 5 choices to perform an abortion, then we want 5 choices on the educational choice. What's the problem? You offer choice all the other times. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to debate the abortion issue. What I'm saying is, be consistent. They just want their way. They just want to dominate.
Agree. So I am asking listeners out there, do your homework. Don't listen to just one side. Listen to both sides. I am asking you to go to my website, check everything out at MississippiReady.org. Check us out on social media. And on our website, we have a Take Action Center. Let your lawmaker hear your voice. I made it super easy. Just like Lindsay, I'm a busy mom. I've tried to get supper out before I came up here. So if you go to MississippiReady.org and you hit Take Action, and it will take you to a page, and all you have to do is put in your address. It automates a message that will go to your representative, and it will go to your senator.
Gotcha.
And if you want to edit it, you can. But I'm asking, you got to let them know. You got to reach out to them. You got to let your voices be heard. Because if we just sit back.
Wow. Again, we got somebody there?
We do.
Our number 601-879-0002. Call you on there.
Kim.
Hey,
good guessing this evening.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good. Look, I wasn't trying to change the subject. She is on. There's a controversy about John wanting to let the kids at 14 years of age, get a part-time job, over and work for a minute. How does she feel about kids 14, 15, 16 years old, find a little job, working a couple hours, taking responsibility, because there's a pushback from that other side about that. But I think it'd be good, because I was working when I was 8, 9 years old in the summertime. Go find something, put a little change in my pocket.
Right. Amen.
It taught me responsibility. It taught me responsibility, because they're screaming, well, they get this money, they're just going to be blowing it. Well, it teaches them responsibility. Hey, you want something, this big price, save up, and at the end of the year, you got enough to put into it. If you just want to go spend 50 cents over here on some candy, well, at the end of the year, you're broke.
Right. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Children should be working. I was working at the age of 11, putting up barbed wire fence for my grandfather. I've got the scar right here. The splice and the wire broke, and I got stitches. He's like, "You're going back to work?" I was like, "Yes, sir, I am." And but I do believe children should work because it does teach them responsibility. And I know in the Ferretti household, all 3 of my kids have a hustle, and they are required to participate, and they are required to help because, I mean, if they, like you said, if they wanna go, to the movies or they wanna go something like mom and daddy can't foot that bill every time.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of my life lessons was I had a friend, that they had the money and they got an allowance. They didn't do nothing. And I said something to my stepdad one day. Hey, he said, "You got your feet under my table, ain't you? You eating, ain't you?" And then it made me realize, if I did extra above what my chores were, I got paid. You know what I say? I was taught that responsibility. Hey, you got a roof over your head, you're getting fed. But rather than that, just for me to give you something, it'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Just give you money to go blow and go and not bring me no change back, like Chip always talks about. Hey, thanks for coming in. Great show. Keep up the great work. I'm behind this 100%. Y'all be safe and blessed.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
Chris.
brother. Yeah, people have said that they're concerned about the riffraff and human debris coming out of these schools and things like that. What's your response to that?
I think that's an asinine notion to say that only some children deserve an opportunity. I mean, and let's be honest. I was in a PTO meeting where we got a flyer that said, if we support school choice, if we have school choice, it's going to ruin our culture. What does that mean? It means kids from another county coming into a county that they don't want those kids in there.
Right.
What does that mean? So you're saying that not all children deserve an opportunity?
Precisely. And see, that's why I think part of this discussion, this legislative session, has to be pushed back onto the public school establishment that, wait a minute, you need to give us some measurable indices that we're going to be able to hang our hat on, because all you hear is just demanding money and demanding your way, and that's not going to happen. So tell us, what are we getting for our dollar today, and what can we get for our dollar going forward if we give you more dollars? But this whole notion, just give you some money and then you come back next year with the same. No, that we're not doing that. That's the end of that kind of.
No, I agree. And if people are afraid, if someone's afraid of children leaving a school or leaving a district, that is a bigger problem than school choice.
Right.
That is a much bigger problem.
That's right. Folks, again, we're talking with Leah Ferretti, and you can find her organization on the various websites. What is the access point? What's the name on it?
MississippiReady.org. I'm asking you to go take action and reach your lawmakers. Let them know that you support education freedom.
Absolutely. Caller, you're on the air. Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
I was wanting to talk a little bit about school choice.
Go ahead, brother.
Express my view on it. Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, went to school. Bus started in Leake County, picked up some kids, brought them in, picked some up in Scott County, and then come on into Rankin County. Then we all just went to school together, back in the day. Then things changed, where you couldn't cross the line, this, that, and other. But all the kids all the taxpayers are paying state taxes and state taxes. So within that state, I'm for it. But here's the thing, not all kids are raised the same way like kids in the country are. Now I believe they should have the opportunity to come over here and get a good education if that's what they want. But if they act up, they don't want to act right. They need to have a rejection clause in that too. That's just the way I feel about it. But I believe in getting everybody right at the right education. If that ones that want it, but the ones that want to come over here and start trouble, or vice versa, either way. They need to go back where they come from. That's just the way I feel about it. I'm gonna hang up, let y'all talk about it.
Thank you, brother.
All right, no,
Thanks.
I
Ladies?
agree 100%. You have to have autonomy and you have to have parameters. This isn't, oh, we're just going to drop the lines and open the floodgates and it's free willy nilly. No, no, you have got to have autonomy and you've got to have those parameters to protect your mission, your school's mission,
Mhm.
whether it's public, private, parochial, whatever. Every school has a mission.
That's right.
Those
And
policies will remain in place.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Punishment that children get at a certain school today will still be that same punishment if there are children that come on a
Right.
ESA to
Right.
that school.
Mhm.
Yeah. It, one of the things that I hear often as it relates to people wanting to get their kids out of a particular school is generally bullying, discipline, stuff
Yes.
like that. And of course, you got in your case where you wanted your kids to actually learn something while they're going to be putting 12 years in an institution, yada yada yada. But I know at one point had a friend up at in the Yazoo school. This has been 10 years ago, and that was 10 years ago. And she was worried about her daughter being harassed by the gay lesbian kids in the bathrooms. The girl wouldn't even go to the bathroom at school
Mm.
because of that. There's all these little things that they can't get any relief from, and everybody acting like they're so concerned about the kids. No, they're not. They're not.
Well, and education is more than that of academics. Like
Mhm.
we have to reach children more than just
True
academically.
that.
And like you
Well, they
said,
know that with the condoms and stuff they're doing. But go ahead.
well, and like you said, that there's situations where children are getting bullied. You
Mhm.
know, I've talked to a parent whose daughter was assaulted, and her home district wouldn't release them, and the receiving district had
Mhm.
room. Like, yes, we'll take you. So now her daughter has to stay in an unsafe environment.
Mhm.
That's not right.
Well, my lawyer would have written them a letter. Say, okay, that's fine. Just be prepared to pay. If anything happens to her, I'm suing you individually and collectively. All y'all gonna get sued. The janitor too, putting everybody on the list. But the bottom line is they act so nonchalant and indifferent when it comes to our kids. And I hear all these public officials talking about, well, I sent my kids to public schools in Jackson. Yeah, you sent them to the Montessori school. And then when you couldn't get them into Davis Magnet or McWillie, then you took them out of there. Cut the crap. Folks, I'm just tired of all this. And then I tell you, I don't have any problems with teachers getting their pay raise, but I'm tired of hearing every year. But I see what they're doing. They offer the teachers the pay raise every year, so the teachers won't complain about being on that 1-year contract. Because that 1-year contract is what have you guys as that ball and chain on y'all where you can't really do what you need to do to protect your interests as a teacher and your interests as a parent as teachers, because they know we'll fire you if you don't do right by us. But if the teachers would just get together and throw out a couple of these legislators saying, okay, we're going to target the DeSoto County legislator and get them out of there, you can send that message. But again, I mean, if you don't have the discipline, you don't have the structure, you get what you get.
Well, you know, Kim, what's unfortunate is that a lot of times teachers are or they're scared
Yeah,
because of their
Mhm.
because of their
yeah,
job.
yeah.
That's right.
You know,
It's by design.
when I was a young teacher, I was told, hey, if you haven't signed up for this organization, you need to go to the office and sign up. It's only $10 a month. Central office will take it out of your check, and you need that because when that evil parent sues you, this organization is going to give you. They're going to protect you and provide legal counsel for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, little 20-something young teacher. Yes,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I'm going to need that. And
Mhm.
no.
And it's a grift for one of their organizations that supports them. Lindsay, you had some? Oh, we got a break. That's what you got. We'll be right back, folks. All right, we got a couple minutes here, Ms. Farad. Well, we got less than that. Tell us. your
All right.
website.
I'm asking you to go to MississippiReady.org. Take action. Contact your lawmaker today. They need to hear from you, and follow us on all social media outlets at Mississippi Ready.
All right. We want to thank you for coming in. The door is open to you whenever you got something you want to pass on to the listeners. Please come back and please keep us posted as the legislative session gets underway. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Y'all have a good night.
That website.
MississippiReady.org.
All right. See you on the radio. Peace.